Welcome to the Daily Review. This is Razak, Senior Trading Strategist here at CMTrading. Today is April 7, 2025, and today is Monday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, U.S. market sell-off again. Yes, it's the third day in a row that the market's gapped down. I'm going to take a look at that in just a second. But first, looking at today's major economic events, nothing scheduled until Wednesday. So focusing on the Forex symbols, we're watching the U.S. dollar get a bounce. Question not whether or not it's real or just people covering their shorts, making that fictitious bounce. Now looking at the U.S. markets, both the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ continue their sell-off. Now looking at the commodities, oil continues to tank from $71 to $61 a barrel. Now looking at the stocks, yes, they gapped down again for a second day in a row. And lastly, looking at cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin catches the cold of the sell-off and sells off as well. So let's take a look at markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go with the Euro USD. Now we're getting into a point where it's just consolidating. It's really consolidating. We're getting a little bit of misdirection here on both sides. So the question is which way we're going to go today. And that's going to be really reflecting on the Dow Jones. Now that's starting out with the Euro USD. The GBP also, the dollar getting slightly stronger versus the GBP USD. You see the bounce is not as proficient as it was in the euro. Now looking at the Canadian dollar, also the dollar getting stronger here as it bounced back to 142 from its low of 140ish level. So lots of volatility still in the market, and the question is whether or not it's going to carry into today as well, as the markets are digesting this massive new tariff policy from Donald Trump. Nobody really thought that he was going to do it. Sure enough, he did it. Now this coils us back to the 1980s. It's when it was before NAFTA. It was before countries lowered their tariffs to each other. So this is going to be a really redefining moment in the world economy. And I think he's overextending some of his confidence on the U.S. ability to be self-sufficient. And that's going to be only time will tell. Now jumping into commodities. This is where it got hit the worst. Now, gold did sell off as well to 3,033, but the real loser was crude oil. Look at that. A second day in a row, it continues to gap down. I mean, this is massive. This reminds me so much of Corona. I mean, we haven't had this type of move in one day in a really long time, okay? And we may still sell off. Now, we have support of $59 a barrel, but if we break that, man, oh man, we could go back to the mid-50s, maybe even 40s. Now looking at natural gas also sold off here, but still on supporters levels, so still holding itself. Now let's take a look at the U.S. markets where most of the action is happening. The Dow Jones free falling, and this big gap here is really this morning. That's a third day of a gap down that we're having, but it's bouncing off of it. So the question is whether or not it's going to sustain itself later today, or is it going to further sell off. Time will only tell. You're going to have to really pay attention to the levels very carefully. Now you see on a daily chart that bounce is more proficient, but we did cap down, and this is really massive kind of moves in the market. Now looking at the NASDAQ, same story. I don't even think you could see where it is all the way down here at 16,600-ish level. Now we got to look at a weekly to give us some perspective. We're right here where we did have previous resistance, subsequent support. So this may be a point where we may bounce off of, okay? We have 50% to bounce off of, so we'd be making it back to about 19,000-ish level, okay, if we do bounce off of this area. So keep on mind, this could be a huge potential opportunity today, so don't lose it. Now looking at the stocks, they all sold off, okay? There's nothing there that did not sell off. I mean, we could start with Apple, okay, a second day of a gap down. You could see that quite clearly. You could see Facebook gapping down. Now what's interesting is Alcoa, because Alcoa did sell off, but Alcoa actually benefits from these tariff situation policies. So it's kind of interesting. It did sell off, but I wonder if it's going to bounce back much quicker than anything else. Now looking at Facebook, also sold off for a second day, big gap down. If we look at Microsoft also, I mean, it's across the board. There's nothing there that didn't get hit. JP Morgan also got hit. So every classification of assets got hit. Now, what is interesting is that Bitcoin actually catches the fever and sells off to $76 a Bitcoin, $6,000 per Bitcoin. So this may be also another opportunity. If it does bounce, we may see ourselves coming back up. Now, I don't like to pick bottoms, but be careful today because the moves are still quite aggressive. If we look at the VIX, we can't update it right now for some reason, but it is on record levels, and that's really something to keep an eye on the VIX to see how it's trading on a daily basis, to see if it does lower, maybe we'll see that bounce later today. This is Fed Razak. I want to wish you guys a very safe trading day. Thank you.